recording.
We're joined now by Stephen Wilder. He is a student at the University of Louisville in Kentucky.
Begging to be on the podcast.
He's walked by so many times.
Begging.
I'm about to get a restraining order against this guy.
I guess.
We wanted him to talk.
I was like, listen, dude, you're creeping me out. What do I need to do to get you out of here?
It's like, give me some airtime.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
for sure.
Now, you're just a visitor here at Politicon, right?
Yeah.
Why'd you want to come to Politicon?
Why? The main draw here for me was Kyle Kalinske, who's
Okay,
progressive.
you said that. I don't know who the guy is, but before we get there, because I want to know, how did you get involved in politics? What drew you? Yeah.
I will say, I guess when I first started, I'm an atheist.
Okay.
So,
You're an atheist.
yeah, I'm an atheist. And
I'm a Christian.
Yep.
Okay.
A little bit different.
Watched a lot of YouTube content about atheism, and it kind of led me to get politically active in a sense. So,
for what reason? Because you feel like atheists are discriminated against, or because you?
Not necessarily. I think at the time when I first got into it, it was a lot of right-wing content, a lot of those guys who might even get labeled alt-right now, in a sense, and I'll be watching them, and then eventually I dropped a lot of those views or whatever.
Okay.
I stayed as an atheist, and now I'm still very involved in
So
politics.
wait, looking up atheist material on YouTube leads you to alt-right content.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
maybe. I don't know. Yeah,
I've never actually looked for that.
Yeah,
because I'm Christian. So
that's true. So you start there. You looking at that. Then you start watching alt-right folks. You dropped that.
Yeah,
and then you picked up Kyle. Apparently, right?
That was along the way. Yeah.
Okay. So what between Kyle and the alt-right, what happened?
I guess for a while, politically, I just didn't really care about anything.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
What's the first election you voted in?
2018.
Okay.
So,
and how did you vote?
You clearly voted straight Republican, right?
I voted straight ticket Democrat.
Okay. Right.
So you were a Bernie fan.
I am.
Okay. Did you vote for Hillary Clinton after Bernie was screwed in the primaries?
Well, he didn't
I was
vote
16.
Then. Yeah, he couldn't vote.
In the
16.
election.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you were in Chicago, you could have voted anyway, right? Just pick up some dead guy and vote for him, right?
they let you vote there, right? So
I say tongue in cheek, of course.
But obviously you would have voted for Bernie.
Yes.
Yeah. So were you watching these videos at that point?
By that point, my political stances are what they are today.
Okay. So when you were 16,
yeah,
I got you.
I was already solidified.
And your folks or your friends or whoever, what are their political leanings?
I have a lot of friends all over the spectrum.
I got
For the most part, a lot of my friends are on the left.
Yeah.
But I think just because someone has any sort of political belief doesn't mean I can't be friends with them. So I have
clearly
friends
you're
from
talking to
all
us,
over
right? There you go.
I have friends all over the spectrum.
So what are your main issues? Your main one or two issues that make you a progressive or make you on the left?
I'd say healthcare. I believe that we should have a single payer system, and also I believe that we should get a minimum wage increase.
I got you. So let's take the first.
Was it living wage or minimum wage increase?
Let's take one at a time. Come on now. Okay, we'll start there.
Okay, I support a living wage.
Okay. And
what is a living wage?
Describe that to us.
I guess it really depends on where you are, just because cost of living is pretty different in a sense.
Yeah. Yep.
But I believe that anywhere you go, you shouldn't have to work somewhere where you'd have to pick up a second or a third job to be able to pay the bills, or if you have to provide for your family. That's what I believe.
Okay, I get that.
Now,
so
here's my reality.
Okay.
It's different from yours. When I was 21, 22, 23, when I first was trying to get established, I had a degree. I worked this many jobs to pay the bills. And I almost worked this many jobs, but I didn't, because I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's not part of the game of life to work 3 jobs to get established, then you can go down to 2 jobs, and then you can get established, and then you're a one-job guy, hopefully by the time you're 30, 35? I mean, is that fair?
I think in America that is how the game works, but I don't think it's right, if that makes sense. Okay. I don't believe that it should have to be someone should have to take 2 or 3 jobs to be able to provide for themselves, when American work culture is so centered around working. We don't get nearly as many vacation days as someone in France or something like that. But you don't.
No, we don't.
Man, I get a shit ton of vacation days. I don't know about you. I get a lot.
He's an attorney.
I work for a good company.
He's an attorney.
Yeah.
But I'm just considering like how hard we work, I believe that we should be getting paid more for what we are doing.
What we do.
Yes.
Here's what baffles me about that, and I'm not coming at you. I'm just sitting here thinking as you're talking.
Don't come at Stephen. I will stop you out.
No, here's what baffles me about that is that's the exact opposite of the argument when it comes to why we should tax the rich more. Because think about it. We have some people who inherited their money, and they're wealthy because of that reason. We have some people that kind of benefited from nepotism, i.e. Donald Trump, probably. Obviously, he had a wealthy father. But we have a lot of millionaires who worked their ass off to make all this money that they have. And not only so here's what in a sense that folks that they're arguing for a living wage are saying. They're saying, I shouldn't have to work, I shouldn't have to work all hours of the night to provide for my family, right? So I should actually be rewarded for doing some hard work for 40 hours, right? I need a living wage for that. But we also want to disincentivize people who actually work like that or more, put tons of their money into a business forever, and then we say, you know what, you got too much money. You're too rich. You need to spread that around to everybody else who doesn't want to work like you.
Yeah, and I guess the other piece of reality, and I don't disagree with with what you said, but I'll add to that. You think the work week should be how long?
I'm sorry?
Work week, how long should it be? We talking about 40 hours?
I could support a 40-hour work week.
Say 30.
To me, I've been. Let's see, I'm 40 years old. I've been out of college for almost 20 years. I have never had a 40-hour work week.
Absolutely not.
I have never had a 50-hour work week. The typical work week for me is between 60 and 70 hours a week. And that's using lawyer term. That's billable hours.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I'm a salary worker. I don't punch a clock. Mm-hmm. So I'm not getting paid for those extra hours. I'm getting paid for 40, but I'm working more 60 hours a week.
Well, you're bonus. You're on commission too, right?
I'm on commission, and I'm also I'm a business development manager. When I'm on a plane, when I get up to get in the shower to get on a plane, first plane out, you have to be up and ready to go at 4 a.m. That's work. You may not be talking to anybody or filling out a TPS report, or they say in that movie.
Yep.
But still work. It's part of. I call it the game. It's not a game, but it's the game of life. And when you are doing things after hour, those are still billable hours. So, to me, my reality is this. I would really suggest that you don't have the idea that a work week has a certain amount of hours, because if you think of the work week of a 40-hour time investment, then you're not going to be making the money of an attorney who thinks of a work week as you pay me for 40, but I'm really working 75.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm following.
Because, in the reality is this. You get paid what someone else thinks that you're worth. And the only way that you can increase that worth in their mind is to work your ass off.
And I totally get the seeing someone with money, with millions of dollars, and there are people out there that are struggling to make it. And so is there help that needs to be given to those sort of people? I totally agree with that. I think there are folks that would truly say, though, that they would much prefer just to throw more money at the problem and essentially marginalize folks to where they're comfortable and not asking for anything else.
Yeah.
Than to actually help them out of that situation, right? And to actually allow them to give back. And I think, not that I think everybody wants to do that. We just disagree on how we should do it. And I just don't think the government spends money well. That's my whole issue, is that I've been around state and local and federal governments. I know what bureaucrats do, right? They play favorites. They take quid pro quo. Trump's not the first person to be accused of a quid pro quo in government, right? It's basically what government's built on. And they're inefficient. They don't really get the money to the people. We have to pull people out of poverty the way that this country's always pulled people out of poverty. We just have to focus on that. We have to create opportunities for people to actually go out and feel like they're earning a living for themselves, because at the end of the day, when you're actually out there earning a living for yourself and you can afford to buy that house that somebody else doesn't have and you've earned that, you feel so much better about it than just paying rent to someone. I think that's really the bottom line. And it's what. Listen, we have issues in this country. People need more money. There are people hurting. There are people hungry. There are people that need jobs. We've got to address that. I'm just not a big proponent in saying we got to leave that to the federal government because I don't trust them. I don't trust anybody up there to really take our best interests at heart. They're in it for them, a lot of them, on either side, And I believe the best help is given at the local level with people like you and me that disagree politically, but actually spend our own money to go out and help people, right? We spend our money and our time to volunteer and bring people out of that cycle of poverty mentality. Yep.
Stephen, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
this was fun.
It was fun.
Did you enjoy your time?
He might want to rebut. Did you want to rebut something?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I didn't give you a chance.
I will say, you say you don't have a lot of faith in the federal government.
Yep.
But if there was
I have zero faith. You said a little. I have none. Yeah.
So if there was an initiative, I'd say Trump today was just every state is going to enact their own living wage law, where every worker in their own state would be some determined whatever they said they would have to work for a living wage. Would you support that?
Here's what I think. I don't think those are good ideas for a lot of reasons, and I think if you look at places and sure there are arguments on the other side, if you look at places like Washington and Seattle, right, they've actually lost service industry people. They've had to fire people, and restaurants have closed because they have to pay their people a certain amount, right? Some of those jobs were never intended to be a living job. Mm-hmm. They were intended to be a job where you start and learn skills, and you know what? This person is actually busting their ass in this job while they're in school. They're going to school. I played basketball, and I went to high school, and I worked a job. My coach didn't like that. He would have much preferred if I didn't do any job while I was playing sports, but I had to actually say, I can't practice on the weekends. I've got to go work a job, too. And I made a commitment to that. And then you have to impress management. There's all kinds of things tied up into the fact that you're learning at that point to take on a bigger job and the next job and maybe create your business. I mean, that's a goal. We're a country of entrepreneurs and people that want to go pursue their own dream. We don't want to tell you what job you should do because you can make a little bit more money and that's what you're stuck doing. That's not the kind of country I want to live in. I want to live in a country where you could fail. You could absolutely fail. It's certainly possible you could fail, and it's not always going to be your fault. And
Can you say that, if all of a sudden that a business would have to pay their workers twice what they were saying, maybe over the course of a couple of years, irrelevant. Yeah. If they do go out of business because they do have to pay their workers more, shouldn't that business fail regardless?
No, I don't think that at all. And here's the other thing that I think we forget is think about how much we talk about how corporate greed is a bad thing, but think about how much of our lives is kind of dependent on corporations doing well, right? I mean, a lot of us have our whole city economy is built on corporations being there and providing jobs and income.
I'll break it down to the granular level is this: the American dream, if you boil it down to its symbiotic state, is home ownership.
Yeah.
If you're anti-corporation, you can kiss your home goodbye because you're not going to be able to afford it unless you're able to cut me a check for the house that I built you for $200,000 or however much it is on the spot. You don't get to own that house. A lot of times you don't get to rent that house because those businesses are corporations.
Here's the problem, I think. There are corporations with bad ethics.
Absolutely.
And there should be things done to those people, but there should be nothing wrong with making a profit. If you provide something to someone for value, you create it, you spend the capital and the income to create that product that people want, you should be able to profit from that because it's a fair exchange. People want your product. Think of Apple, right? Mm-hmm. People want your product, and you're making income off of it. I mean, there's no reason Apple should not make income, and everybody shouldn't have to just get an iPhone because they want one, right? And so that's one example of the fact that we want innovation to continue, and innovation doesn't really continue unless there's an incentive for that to happen. If people are disincentivized and just handed money, like Andrew Yang wants to do, for example, forget that. But say we're given $5,000 a month, and we can choose your $5,000 a month, and you can live in this condo, quote-unquote condo, that's really like a cell block D looking place, like a college dorm. You can live there. There are some people that would choose to live there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In this country, not everybody wants to take advantage of all the things that we've been given. Is that everybody? No. Or there's some people that would really like to, but they're pushed down by the economy? Yes. And do we need to keep focusing on trying to pull those people out? Absolutely. But totally just doing away with the system that is built all this wealth that's being able to spread around the world, to me, is the wrong way to go about it. It needs to be tweaked, not burned to the ground. I think that's the real answer, So,
all right.
Hey, man. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.